When I moved to Willowbrook Estates, I thought I was buying peace of mind. The neighborhood was pristine, the houses perfectly maintained, and the H.O.A. president Karen Middleton seemed professional during our brief meeting. She handed me a thick binder of rules with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Little did I know that smile would haunt my dreams for months to come. The first red flag appeared 2 weeks after moving in. My electricity bill was unusually high for someone who worked long hours and barely used the air conditioning. Being a forensic accountant, I naturally investigated discrepancies. After calling the utility company 3 times, I discovered something strange in my usage patterns. The consumption spiked dramatically during hours when I wasn't even home. Karen lived next door in a sprawling colonial that dwarfed my modest ranch house. Her property featured an elaborate landscaped lighting system, a hot tub, and what appeared to be a workshop in her garage that glowed with activity late into the night. Funny how someone so concerned with neighborhood regulations seemed exempt from the noise ordinances about power tools after 10 p.m. The mystery deepened when I noticed an extension cord running from my outdoor outlet, cleverly hidden behind decorative bushes that straddled our property line. Following the cord led me to Karen's prized garden shed, which hummed with the sound of multiple appliances. My blood pressure spiked as I realized the H.O.A. president was literally stealing my electricity to power her personal projects. I knocked on her door that evening, armed with photos and my utility bills. Karen answered wearing her signature pearls and a condescending expression that suggested I was interrupting something far more important than petty theft. Her voice had that particular tone that immediately made you feel like you were back in elementary school being scolded by the principal. She examined my evidence with theatrical concern before launching into a lecture about property boundaries and easement rights. According to Karen, the previous homeowner had given verbal permission for the electrical arrangement, making it a grandfather clause situation. When I pointed out that verbal agreements about utility theft weren't legally binding, she pulled out her trump card, a citation for my mailbox being 2 inches too far from the curb. The citation was written on official H.O.A. letterhead, with multiple codes referenced from the community charter. Karen explained that my violation would result in daily fines of $50 until corrected, starting immediately. The coincidental timing of this citation, delivered moments after I confronted her about stealing my electricity, seemed lost on her completely. Or perhaps it wasn't lost at all, which made it infinitely worse. My reasonable approach had backfired spectacularly. Instead of acknowledging her theft, Karen had escalated to weaponizing her position as H.O.A. president. Over the following days, more citations appeared, grass height exceeding the maximum by 1/4 inch, a decorative garden stone that violated the approved color palette, and parking my car in my own driveway for more than 24 hours without moving it. Each citation came with escalating fines and increasingly specific regulations that seemed custom designed to target my property. Karen had transformed from neighbor to nemesis, using her H.O.A. authority to punish me for daring to question her electrical pilfering. The irony of being harassed by someone actively committing theft while citing me for minor aesthetic infractions was not lost on me. During my years as a forensic accountant, I developed relationships with real estate attorneys, city planners, and municipal officials. My work investigating corporate fraud had taught me that complex problems often required creative solutions. While Karen escalated her citation campaign, I began making phone calls to old colleagues and reviewing public records. The breakthrough came when I discovered that Willowbrook Estates had been built on land with unusual zoning classifications. The original developer had negotiated special permits that created a patchwork of residential, commercial, and utility easements throughout the neighborhood. Most homeowners were unaware that certain parcels retained commercial zoning rights that had never been exercised. My property, according to the municipal records, included a small corner lot that maintained commercial zoning for telecommunications infrastructure. The previous owner had never utilized this designation, but the rights remained active and transferable. This discovery opened possibilities that Karen's rule-obsessed mind could never have anticipated. I contacted a client from my consulting work who owned a cell tower company. Within 2 weeks, we had permits approved for a cellular communication tower on the commercially zoned portion of my property. The tower would be fully compliant with all federal, state, and local regulations, positioned precisely at the property line I shared with Karen's house. The installation began on a Tuesday morning with industrial equipment and a crew of 12 technicians. Karen emerged from her house in curlers and a bathrobe, demanding to see permits and threatening to call the authorities. The crew foreman politely showed her the approved documentation while continuing to dig the foundation that would support a 150-foot telecommunications tower. Karen's face cycled through several colors as she read the permits. The tower was completely legal, properly zoned, and positioned exactly 18 inches from her property line. Her prized garden, hot tub, and workshop would sit in the permanent shadow of cellular equipment that operated 24 hours a day with industrial lighting for safety compliance. But the tower was only the beginning of my response to her electrical theft and harassment campaign. My forensic accounting background had revealed something interesting about Karen's own property records. Her house had several unpermitted additions that violated current building codes, including the workshop where she'd been using my stolen electricity. I filed anonymous complaints with the building inspector, armed with detailed documentation of the code violations. The unpermitted workshop, the oversized deck, and the hot tub installation all lacked proper permits and failed to meet current safety standards. Karen would face mandatory inspections, expensive retrofitting, and potential fines that dwarfed her petty H.O.A. citations. The cell tower construction proceeded rapidly, while Karen frantically called city officials and H.O.A. board members. Her attempts to halt the project were futile since I had followed every regulation and obtained every required permit. The commercially zoned land rights superseded any H.O.A. restrictions, creating a legal framework that Karen's rule-based mindset couldn't navigate. As the tower reached its full height, Karen's workshop fell under the scrutiny of building inspectors, who discovered the illegal electrical connection to my property. The stolen electricity, which she justified as a neighborly arrangement, became evidence of utility theft in an official investigation. The building department required her to disconnect all unpermitted electrical work and bring her property up to current codes. Karen's harassment citations suddenly seemed insignificant compared to the city violations piling up on her own property. The fines for unpermitted construction work started at $500 per day and escalated quickly for non-compliance. Her attempts to challenge the citations led to additional scrutiny that revealed more violations she'd overlooked. The final piece of my response involved the H.O.A. itself. My investigation had revealed that Karen had been using her position to approve violations for friends while targeting homeowners who questioned her authority. I compiled evidence of selective enforcement and submitted a formal complaint to the Homeowners Association's management company. The management company launched an investigation that revealed Karen's pattern of abuse and the financial irregularities in H.O.A. accounts. Her reign as president came under scrutiny from homeowners, who finally understood how she'd been manipulating the system. The very rules she'd weaponized against me became the framework for her removal from office. Karen stood in her backyard 3 months later, staring up at the cellular tower that cast a permanent shadow over her property. The building inspectors had condemned her workshop, the H.O.A. had removed her from office, and the utility company was pursuing legal action for the theft of my electricity. Her attempts to control and harass me had backfired spectacularly, leaving her property devalued and her reputation destroyed. The look on her face, as she finally understood that her own obsession with rules and regulations had provided the exact framework for her downfall was worth every hour I'd spent planning this response. Karen's eyes widened as the full scope of my methodical, completely legal revenge crystallized in her mind, realizing she had been outmaneuvered at every single turn.